Hello, hello, and welcome. This is Tanya Bankston, Coach T. Bankston, the Change Doula, and I am coming at you live. I wanted to share with you some information with regards to coaching, counseling, what's the difference. Maybe if there's time, we'll talk briefly about how you select a counselor or coach. Better yet, you know what? I'm going to do another live to tell some specific ways that can be helpful in selecting a coach or selecting a counselor. But for today, let me just start out by sharing with you who I am and what I do. As I stated, my name is Tanya Bankston, and I am the Change Doula. So, real briefly, a doula is a professional woman who assists in the birthing process. Different from a midwife, a doula is responsible for the comfort of a woman during the birthing process, whereas a midwife is responsible for getting the baby delivered safely as well as the safety of the mom. Differences in terms of education are night and day. Credentialing, licensing, all of that, there's a difference in a doula and a midwife. So don't get the two confused. Now, when it comes to being the change doula, I am the change doula because I help women give birth to their dreams, their goals, and their visions while remaining authentic and transparent to their true purpose. That's the long and short. So, as you may notice, my title is Coaching, Counseling, What's the Difference? Which is which? How do you know? Why am I doing this? Well, first of all, I just finished up a coaching call. During my coaching call, my client said, well, as my counselor, then I feel comfortable talking to you. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not your counselor. I'm your coach. And it's a difference. And I feel like I get that often enough that this is something that people need to understand what the difference is. So I made a few notes and we're just going to go over them, right? So let's talk counseling first. When you think of a counselor, now often you'll hear therapist, clinician, counselor. A lot of times those are used interchangeably, but there's some distinct differences. And I don't want to get into all of the distinct differences right now in this video. That can be the topic of another video, right? But in general, a counselor is someone who has been trained in counseling techniques. This person normally has minimum a master's degree, either in clinical social work, in psychology, or in my case, mental health therapy, right? It can also be in substance abuse, but it's a minimum a master's degree. Some programs, it may be a doctorate's degree. So that would be the distinguishing factor number one. Master's, doctorate's degree in mental health therapy, counseling, clinical social work, psychology. That's number one. Number two, major difference. This person then registers with the state in which they reside to apply for a license to practice. So let me give you an example. I reside in the state of Michigan. In the state of Michigan, that particular licensing board is called LARA, which stands for Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Every state has one, and it may be titled something different depending on the state, but the state then reviews their credentials, reviews their education, reviews their background for any type of criminal type behavior. What else? Reviews their education. I said that already. And then based on all of the fact finding that they do, they issue or not a license. Then once the license is issued, there is a authoritative type body. Like for me, I'm currently a limited license professional counselor. And what that means is, so you'll see at the end of my name, you'll see LLPC, which stands for Limited Licensed Professional Counselor. And it's limited because I am required by law to finish 3,000 hours, a minimum of 3,000 hours, and 100 hours under the license of a licensed by the state of Michigan supervisor in order to become fully licensed. So that's one of those credentials that you see at the end of my name, depending on the counselor or therapist or clinicians. Like I said, sometimes people who don't know the difference, they're all used interchangeably. But those are some of the credentials that you see at the end of the name. So that right there takes care of the counselor. Now, another thing is that there is a code of ethics, that counselors must abide by in order to not get, for lack of better words, not get, what's the word? Not get fined, not lose their license, not get violations, all of that kind of stuff, right? Counseling is highly regulated. That I cannot stress that enough, is that it's highly regulated, okay? Now, coaching. This, I need you to pay attention to this, because so oftentimes people assume or mistake coaching and counseling as being one and the same, and truly it is not. First of all, anybody can say, I'm a life coach. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Some people might get upset with me. I'm sorry. I'm just going to tell the truth. If you follow me, you know Coach T is going to tell the truth. She's going to be transparent. She's going to be authentic. She's going to tell the truth. You'll hear people say, well, I'm a certified life coach. Well, what does that mean? That could mean that they took a training or some classes and they got certified through a school. It could mean that. It could also mean maybe they've had some life experiences, and based on those life experiences, they say that they have enough experience to make a specific subject matter their niche, their specialty area, and they are certified in that particular area. So let me just say this, there are hundreds of specialty areas, hundreds of niches. So for example, I mean, all you have to do is just Google is our friend. So just Google life coaching. If you Google life coaching, I mean, a myriad of life coaches will pop up all over the place, right? So many different specialty areas, from substance abuse, divorce life coaches, executive life coaches, business life coaches. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So, for example, you have, let's say you just recently went through a divorce and you feel stuck. You feel like you don't know what's next. And this can be kind of a tricky situation, but you decide that you want to hire a life coach to help you move forward with some of the emotions that you're feeling, and maybe help you build up your self esteem, help you start to feel like, I feel confident that I'm ready to start dating again, but I don't know how. So maybe you look up a divorce life coach, somebody who specializes in divorce. Now, with life coaching, there are two credentialing bodies, but you don't have to go through those credentialing bodies, if that makes any sense. So one of them is International Federal Coaching Association. That's one. Another one is International Coaching Community, ICC. So it's ICC and ICF. Coaches do not have to go through those credentialing bodies. So let me give you an example. In the next few years, I plan on starting my own coaching school, right? If you decide that you want to be a life coach and you come to my coaching school, once you finish the program, let's say it's a 6-month program or 8-month program or a 1-year program. Once you complete that program, then I will give you a certificate as a life coach. And depending on what your specialty area is, you will get a life coaching certificate with that particular specialty or that particular niche, right? Niche, depends on who's saying it, what the pronunciation is. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it would fall under either one of those credentialing bodies. So I hope this is making sense so far. But I'm really just trying to reel in some of that confusing type nuances and make it very, very crystal clear and crystal specific as to the difference between the coaching and the counseling, how you get your education, how you get your certification, all of that, so that it just makes more sense in general. So back to that particular scenario that I gave about the divorce. Now, here's the thing. A counselor can be a life coach, right? And you'll see that often if you go on, let's say, a website like Psychology Today. Psychology Today has psychologists, social workers, mental health therapists, counselors. It has all of those. The profiles will share with you the clinician's name, the clinician's license, the clinicians, it may have their schooling, but it definitely has their specialty areas. I know that to be a fact. And it may even have down there that they're a life coach. And now that's becoming pretty standard. No big deal, right? Fine. That's perfectly fine, because you can take that information and then you can go to your state licensing board, punch in that clinician who is also a life coach, punch in their numbers, and it will pop up with that state, that yes, they're fully licensed or they're limited license. It'll tell when their license was first um, given to them. It'll tell when their most current license expires. It'll tell if they have any type of um, complaints against the therapist or clinician. So you can get background, right? And also it's an opportunity if you have a problem with a therapist or a clinician where you can file a complaint. So there is a licensing authority that has granted that clinician the opportunity to practice in that state, which is good. Now with coaching, it's not the same. If you are a life coach and you have not gone to school to be a therapist, a counselor, a clinician, a social worker, a psychologist, you had better not say that you are a therapist, a counselor, a clinician. You are breaking a law, period. And I'm saying all of this to provide the general public, the layperson, the person who doesn't really understand the difference between coaching and counseling, just basic information, right? So back to that divorce situation. So you've gone through divorce. Now you want to move forward. You want to move forward. You want to get into the dating scene. A life coach who specializes in divorce can help you do that. Another really, really good way of distinguishing between a life coach and a therapist, or a life coach and a counselor, life coaches help you to move forward, to get unstuck. By the time you go to a life coach, you should already know that you want the assistance of a life coach to move forward. A therapist, a clinician, a counselor helps you get unstuck in a different way. They really kind of help you look at your past. They help you look at how you come about with some of your core beliefs. And they help you to answer some questions about yourself that maybe you weren't able to answer. So life coaches should really focus more on the present and the future, whereas a counselor, a therapist, a clinician, a psychologist will probably help you to work on the present and your past. I hope that makes sense. Finally, if you have a complaint with a life coach, you may not necessarily have a regulating body to complain to. Me, myself personally, I have spent, and I'm kind of lowering my tone so my husband doesn't hear me, but I know for a fact I have spent thousands on coaching, both for my professional development as well as my personal development as a life coach, right? And thank God my what's the word I want to say? My satisfaction level with my coaches. All of my coaches have been pretty good. I haven't had any, thank God. I haven't had any major problems with any of the life coaches. In fact, when I first actually started as a coach, I was kind of like, I had that shiny bright object syndrome that most people get. It's like, oh, this coach, oh, that coach, oh, this coach, oh, that coach. And it's like you're jumping all around, jumping through hoops, buying this program and this workbook and this download and this email, and finally you just kind of like get information overload, So I went through that whole process as well. But if I had, like, say, spent $3,000 or $4,000 on a coaching program and it did not work, well, I don't even want to say it didn't work, because normally if you work the program, they work. Let me say that. But let's say, and I'm just creating a scenario. Hopefully this never happens to anybody. But let's say I invest in a coaching program, and let's say it's $5,000. And the ad says that I'm going to get A, B, C, D, E, all of these services up underneath this coaching program. So I'm excited. I pull out that card, I pay that money, and then I get this email. It says your download will follow in the next email. And then I get the email, and then there's nothing in the download. Not only is there nothing in the download, but the next time I go back to the website doesn't even exist. And now I'm out of $5,000. Who do I complain to? I might decide I want to go to the International Federal Coaching Association or the International Coaching Community. Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Only to find out my particular coach did not participate in either one of those, a program that offered coaching through either one of those programs. Then what do I do? Oh, okay. I'm going to go to that licensing and regulatory affairs. They're not a licensed counselor, clinician, psychologist, therapist. So long and short, I might just actually end up being out of money. So it serves you well. It serves you well to do the footwork first. Do your due diligence. Do some research to see if the person, A, if they've had some type of coaching experience, B, if, to research the program that they got their coaching certificate or certification from. Check out their website, check out your state attorney general's office. Do some due diligence before you pull out that card. Where's my card? Where's my card? I don't know where it is, but before you pull out your card, right? So long and short, I hope that this has done some clarification in terms of coaching, counseling, therapists, clinicians, psychologists, blah, blah, blah. And you are clear on who's who, what's what, who's on first, who's on third, who's on second. I hope that this has been helpful to you. Now, here's what I want you to do. Now that we have some clarity, go to my website, www.changedoula.com, changedoula.com, or coachtbankston.com, and book you a 15-minute complimentary clarity session. Do it right away. Do it right away. While you're there, peruse the website. Purchase a book, purchase a t-shirt, purchase candles. If you found this to be helpful. So until next time, I think next time, if you put in the comments that you're interested, I will talk more about doing some due diligence and finding your therapists, clinicians, psychologists, et cetera, and offer you some assistance. I know some good coaches. You heard me say, or you heard me whisper that I've spent thousands, maybe now it's been tens of thousands, but please just don't tell Mr. Banks. So until next time, this is Coach T. Bankston, Tanya Bankston, the Change Doula, inviting you, reminding you, inspiring you, and encouraging you to aim high, take flight, come soar with me. I am out. See you next time.